Fisherman's Mission, written by Mercedes Kemp. By midsummer, in wild weather, the Bretons arrived from across the Channel, answering General de Gaulle's call for all free French to start the resistance and join the Allied forces. They sailed across in their trawlers, their tenders, and their crabbers. They were brought into harbour by a massive wave on the incoming tide, in weather as angry as they were. We knew many of the Bretons from all our lifetimes as scrapping over the fishing fields, racing the waves, and drinking together at port. I was just 15 at the time. I had always lived by the harbour and I had seen tragedy many times. But what happened to one young French family was particularly dreadful. I will not forget the sight of that poor woman. A girl, really, standing on the harbour wall, holding her baby and just falling to the ground, clutching the child and falling, and the women running to her with arms outstretched. The crew brought her husband's body ashore. His face was the colour of clouds, and he looked so very young. They had been fishing close to shore when a group of aircraft approached and started bombing them. The boat bounced round with the impacts, but it was not it. The aircraft returned, flying low over the becalmed sea. The crew took shelter as best they could, but the young skipper stood on deck, waving his arms and crying out their business. They were just fishing. He was shot clean through the back of the head. I think it brought us closer. My father let me come on the boat with him from childhood, and I can remember holding on to the tiller and falling in love with the feel of it. When I was 16, we both joined a Breton crabber on a rescue mission to France. It was winter time and we sailed through a westerly with huge seas. The mission was to rescue 14 British airmen stranded in Brittany. We made good time and arrived at the rendezvous early. The skipper took the chance to walk to his village, just some miles up the coast. He returned before dawn, and I think he had cried all the way, for his face looked ravaged. But he had managed to kiss his wife and his sleeping children. At daybreak, the airmen arrived. We put him in a secret compartment below and nailed him in, tight as pilchards. And then, just as we were about to cast off, a German patrol came on board. The dogs were fearful beasts, but they failed to sniff the airmen. Germans went ashore, none the wiser. So you can just imagine we fair burned the engine on the way back. The skipper hoisted the French flag up the masthead. We arrived in a rush of weather, flying the free French colours. We were welcomed like heroes.
They're here! They're back!
Bastille Day. We would give them their feast day of freedom, a reminder that in 1789 they had fought and won, and that freedom would come again. 14th of July. The day began with Mass at the Catholic Church and the blessing of the free French. The tricolour flew all over the town and harbour with a stiff breeze and clear skies. There was singing and dancing, and the children at games and competitions. There were bowls, wrestling, and the football. There were even French films shown at the cinema, and I think some courting went on there because some were walking out together in the weeks that followed. The mayor gave a rousing speech.
Be strong and of good faith. I recognize you are strangers in a strange land. I trust that next year you will be able to celebrate your National Day on your own soil. And when victory is finally achieved, France and England must stand shoulder to shoulder in defense of right and freedom. Long live free France!
Goodbye. We'll see you on the fishing ground. Farewell.
When it was over, the Bretons packed their boats, said their goodbyes, and left. There were many tears and promises of eternal friendship. Many did not return. They were left under the waves, forever lost, or in Cornish cemeteries overlooking the ocean. And others simply found love and stayed. My own grandchildren are Breton cousins, and the family ties remain unbroken. The tide never goes out so far that it does not return.